Hello gainers, Ralphie here, and it's January 2020. There we are, a month, a year, and it's the 8th of January, so we've got a date. And it's the beginning of the year, and probably a good time to spring clean. It's a bit of a tradition all over the world is whenever the new year arrives, it's an opportunity to go through a small, informal, non-religious ceremony of sweeping out and tidying up the house. And the idea is, of course, quite practical because with the symbolic end of one year, going through the motions of the spring cleaning, the tidy up, suggests that what we do in our house, we do in our lives. And what we do in our lives, of course, affects our mind. So to keep ourselves tidy is to keep ourselves organised and to keep ourselves respectable. Respectable not to others really, but to ourselves. Very important this, because the cluttered house can be a cluttered mind, and a cluttered mind can be a cluttered life, which lacks focus, it lacks objectivity, and it lacks results. And of course, it's all very well having the purpose of life to experience it, but we want it generally to be a good experience. And the more we tip the odds in our favour by being organised, the better the experience is. The old saying says that it's all very well being lucky, but it's how lucky you are in using your luck. That matters as well, and also how conscientious you are in making the most of the luck you have. This is totally true, and it's something that I've found worked in my favour several times in the past. A little bit of luck can be greatly amplified if you just examine it rationally and then make the best use of it. Is this another thing that would be worth mentioning at the moment while I'm on the subject is making the best use of the resources that we have. And this is another reason for spring cleaning, because at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of a new period in our lives, it's very easy, if we don't be mindful of it, to just breeze into it and carry on with what we've been doing, thinking, and our behaviour patterns, our lifestyle habits of the previous year. But what you'll notice with older folk in particular is that they become increasingly attached to the past because they're surrounding themselves with the past. Now, I'm not talking about a bundle of old furniture. I'm talking about the photographs that mean something to them but nothing to others. I'm talking about the folders and documents and old bills, the stuff that we just pick up during life, which gets methodically stored and filed away. And there comes a point we need to dump it, get rid of it, because the more we keep the past around us, the more by default we keep ourselves attached to the past, as a result of which we're not able to prepare effectively and proactively for the future. And you find this when you're people watching, is that some old folk are lively. They've got that mojo about them. They've got some spirit in their heads and in their hearts, and they've got a spring in their step, because although they have experienced the past, they're in the now, and they're preparing and helping themselves by developing their own future, and particularly in friendships. Another refreshing thing with old folk who are proactive in their lives is they start to dematerialise a bit. They give things away, they burn stuff, they ditch stuff, they dump stuff. Doesn't have to be too much, but they realise that we cannot stick too far with the historical version of ourselves, because we get dragged backwards in time. And this is one thing you'll see again when you're people watching some old folk. They dress old in the past. They've got the resources, they don't have to. And their mind's in the past. It's not even in the present. I remember when I used to this, and all that's sort of the overindulgence and nostalgia, which is often not real but invented. And people get dragged back by this. So a spring clean at the beginning of the year is a really, really practical, simple idea to take a tangible opportunity to refresh, reboot, reinvigorate, revive, recover, re-establish our purpose in life, what we're doing, where we're going, what we have, what we do need, what we don't need. And it's so important to understand the difference between what we want and what we need, because often what we want is just a distraction and a smokescreen for what we really need, which isn't that much. Now, I'm sure you'll probably agree, gainers, that my monologue has been just a little bit rambly as I walk around this field. But there's a purpose to this. And the purpose is simply that it is a good idea when spring cleaning to actually not organising anything. Don't organise going out. Don't organise meeting people, because suddenly you've got the space in which you're doing nothing to think. And it's amazing how the mind will automatically prioritise what's important, what's necessary, and what isn't. And we can more easily mentally reboot if we create the space in our busy lives to do so. Because after all, our lives are not half as busy as they would be if we didn't fill them with clutter, distractions, and a whole load of nonsense. Don't waste your time, gainers. If you're going to pick out anything to do with your spring cleaning list, your reboot is don't waste time. Don't waste time on things, on some people who are not being proactive and helpful in your life, and people are not worth knowing. I'm giving an opinion, but it's true. Sometimes you need to reboot at the beginning of the year and decide, well, what friendships are valuable to you and what friendships have become a habit. It's not something you do every year. It's more something you do once in a decade. But I'll come to your decades upgrade vlog at some other point. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful. I'm Ralphie on location, and you are gainers.